Hi and welcome to another invitation tutorial. Today I'm going to walk you through how to design a simple wedding invitation card. We're using Adobe Illustrator, which is my favorite program for invitation design. So you'll first start by creating a new document, and you want it to be 5 by 7 inches. We only need one artboard for this particular piece, and I want my bleeds to be 0.125 on both sides. I'll show you what that means in a second. CMYK color is what we need for printing, and we want all of our raster effects to be at 300 ppi for best printing results. Okay, so here is our artboard that we've got, and the red line is the bleed. I'll again show you what that means in a minute. So we're going to place in our floral element. I'll link where I got these elements below. It's one of my favorite shops for fun watercolor elements, and so I'm going to use this, and I like to use the PNG. So we'll go ahead and just place that in, but you can use any elements that you like as long as they are good quality. So you'll place that in, and you can see this is larger than I'm actually going to want to print it, and it's at PPI 300, so I can make it smaller with no worries. But I'm gonna go ahead and make it a little bit smaller to fit on our artboard, and I'm gonna use these alignment tools to center it. A bleed, which I mentioned earlier, is where your design goes off the edge of the paper. We can't actually print up to the edge of the paper exactly, so you have to print a little bit further and then cut the paper down. So you want your design to extend at least to the red lines. I want this frame to be a little bit smaller and less conspicuous than it naturally is, so I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger. There we go. And then all of these pieces won't necessarily print. It'll be a little bit less than what you see here that actually prints out on the piece. If you want to check out what that's actually going to look like, you can use a clipping mask. So just make a box that's the size of your artboard. And then if you select both of them and press Control 7 or Command 7, you'll see what it's actually going to print like. And then I'm actually going to lock this layer. So you'll go to Object and Lock, Selection, and that just means that this won't move as I'm moving everything else around. Now I'm going to start with the text just to speed things up. I've gone ahead and copied in some text from another invitation, but we do want to make that centered. And I'm gonna want to change this up a tiny bit. For instance, I want their names to be a little bit fancier, and I'll put a bunch of space in here. You can use these align tools to align to the selection or the artboard. In this case, we're going to use the artboard just to make sure we keep everything centered. And I like to use the names in a different text box because they typically are going to be something that I play with a lot, and so I like to just have them separately, and even sometimes I'll go ahead and lock this text too so it doesn't move and I can't select it. I'm going to paste in the names that we had earlier, and these are in caps. So I'm going to go over to my character panel. There's a full video linked on that for you, and undo the caps. And I want to check out some different fonts that are script fonts. So you can go up here, you can actually filter out all of your fonts. So I'm going to want script. And then now I have all of my invitation fonts that I typically use. I think I want to use one that is called Laney, and I'll link it below for you. We want this to be about 36 point font, and we're going to make it separate lines. These are a little bit scrunched, so I'm going to go back over to my leading and go auto, but then I am going to adjust the spacing down a tiny bit from what it was before. Okay, that's pretty cute, but there's a couple things about it that are not perfect. So first of all, these two T's look a little bit awkward. So what we're gonna do is go into our glyphs panel, which you can get to by pressing type and then glyphs, or you can have it saved over here. And we're going to find our double T glyph, which I know exists and is down here. So we'll click here, we'll insert that double T and get rid of those two T's. You can also change this to alternates for current selection, and when you select something like a W, it'll show you all the different ones you can choose from. So we can choose a cute one on the end, and we can choose lots of different Ys that they have. I don't want to go too crazy with this. I just want it to be a little bit different and feel special, but I don't want it to go over that and sign. So maybe we'll use this one. They have glyphs for all kinds of things you can use. These L's, for instance, can get real crazy. I might use this. Might use that one. And that looks pretty nice. I'm probably gonna go back through and I'm gonna go back and unlock my other text layer, and I'm gonna go back through and change some of the cases for this. I'll speed that up for you. Okay, I like how this is turning out. I'm gonna raise everything a little bit up here. And it looks pretty good in the frame. Everything looks pretty centered. If you want to check again, you can just make sure that one was a little off. You can click the alignment, and that one was pretty good to go. I also think I'm going to add just a tiny bit of extra space between that Y and that and. You'll see that mathematically we added more space between the Emily and the and than we did between the and the Matthew, and that's because this Y comes down a lot further and closer to it than anything else. So even though we added a little bit more space, it still looks more natural, even if it's not mathematically correct. We're even going to add a little bit more. So this comes down to trusting your eye more than you trust the math, which is actually part of being a successful graphic designer. And then before we go to print it, which I have a video I'll link for you that's all about printing, we want to release our clipping mask so that we print this all the way to the red marks. And when we go to print, we're going to save as. Your exact settings will depend on exactly what your printer recommends. I have a full video on exporting this, but we'll go ahead and save it as Emily and Matt invitation, and we want it to be a PDF. So we'll click save. And then we'll start with high quality print. We don't need to optimize it for the fast web view. And then for marks and bleeds, this again is where you talk to your printer. I'm gonna use the document bleed settings so it does print that extra part. I don't need trim marks, but if you're printing this and cutting it yourself, you'll need trim marks. And then we'll just save the PDF from there. I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial on how to make a wedding invitation card yourself in Adobe Illustrator. If you are starting an invitation business and want to get into it, I have tons of resources as well as a monthly membership platform called Stationery School that will teach you how to run a successful business as well as all the tips and tricks for designing wedding invitations. So check those out at designbylaney.com/business, and you can always let us know what questions you have in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss future tutorials.